Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Happy to see all of you. Hope you're all doing fine, reading the Bhagavad Gita and getting wonderful new realizations. Right? You have been reading regularly? You have been reading regularly?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes or no? Okay. Happy to see you. We have done a sort of a study of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And we also had a complete understanding of it. Can you tell me what it actually concluded in the 6th chapter? What was the conclusion of the 6th chapter? Anybody? Since you had more than a week, I think, to read it, what was the conclusion of the 6th chapter? Just trying to recapitulate and trying to revise things with you. What was the 6th chapter about?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Sundar.
Yeah, it's about Dhyana Yoga.
Yes.
And the last sloka in that chapter summarizes everything of that chapter.
Ah, very good.
Kind of.
What is it? What is it? Give me a gist of the last sloka.
Like, for example, of all yogis, the one who has a great faith in and abides or follows him and thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all.
Exactly. Yes. Very good. So that is the essence.
Correct.
Krishna is saying, if you focus on me, you'll become the topmost yogi. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, go ahead. Who is
Maharaj.
Krishna's Dr. Gandhi? Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Actually, Acharya as well substantiates that failing to do this, he falls down, and he has as well quoted the verse 11.5.3 from Bhagavatam, Maharaj, that anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. I wanted to recap that.
Where are you referring to so that everybody will catch it?
Maharaj, in Acharya's book, Acharya's Bhagavad Gita version, under 6.447, page number around 382.
Okay, 6. Yoginam api sarvesham, the last sloka you're talking about.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes. And you are saying that he will definitely fall down if you do not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Isn't it?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, you thought it's a very strong statement?
I thought that's a strong statement, Maharaj, because all the time it has been positive. Lord says that you do, but what happens if you don't do is very much substantiated in this by Acharya. I thought this is very strong, and it's
yes, thank you very much for that, Krishna's Gandhi. How do I call you, Krishna's Dr. Gandhi?
You can Krishna's Gandhi, Maharaj.
Your name is Krishna's Gandhi.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, fine. So your name is right up there. So yeah, I think you made a very interesting and important point. And it connects very much to the next chapter. And that's what exactly I'm looking at. Okay, Shalini, thank you very much, Krishna's Gandhi. Shalini, what do you want to say? We can't hear you, but the thing is, you're saying many things, we can't hear you. Please unmute. Yeah, go ahead.
when we are in this religious field or doing some good karma and thinking about Krishna, doing some work, and if you are not able to complete in this life also, that is being carried forward to the next thing. I felt that is the most important thing. Whatever we do in this life, that is actually a full stop, comma. But this one gets carried out. So I feel that is very important.
Yes, that is in reply to what does Krishna say that? In reply to what does Krishna say that? What question does Arjuna raise?
I'm not clear because I attend many classes, Maharaj. Tamil, I have finished 18 days. Then advanced class, I am doing quiz. Here, Malayalam, one shloka I am hearing. So I get confused between all the three sometimes. Sometimes it's repetition also.
That's why I'm testing out. Many people are doing this and that.
Yes.
Yeah, you connect this.
Whenever I get time.
1 minute. Yeah. The point here is what point you raised is an answer that Krishna gives to Arjuna's question. So, anybody knows that? What's the question that Arjuna asks? After hearing everything and rejecting the Dhyana Yoga system, that is the Ashtanga Yoga system, Arjuna has a question burning in his mind which he asks.
The mind is like, Hare Krishna Maharaj, mind is like air. Is that the...
Not exactly. He has a pointed question he asks. And it's coming from somewhere else. Yeah. Shanti wants to say yes. Shanti Vidyasagar.
If one falls down from the path of devotion.
Exactly. If one falls down from the path of yoga, Brashta Yogi, what will happen to him? Because he gave up material things and got into this, and this also he did not do properly. And he'll be like a riven cloud. Arjuna asked this question because he's afraid that this looks like formidable, and if I attempt this and I don't make it, might as well at least stick to material stuff here. And Trishangu Swargam, neither here nor there. In Tamil, they will say, Aathal oru kaal, Seethal oru kaal. Neither here nor there, I didn't get anything. That's be crazy. So you should look at the very smart question that Arjuna asked. He said, is it worth trying if it's so difficult? I might as well stick to my material stuff. And that's a question in everybody's mind. And before I invest my time, is it worthwhile? Krishna tells immediately, Partha Naivehanamutra Vinashas. He says there is never any failure or destruction for anybody who attempts this. Whatever he has attempted, whatever progress he has made, will be with him eternally. Whatever little he does, it will remain in his account. That spiritual account is different. And the material account is different. The material account closes as soon as you die. Everything gets wiped out. But this account, it carries on. It's a very wonderful point. So thank you, Shalini, for bringing that. So yeah, these are amazing things. And as Sundar was pointing out, that the topmost yogi is that person who is Krishna's devotee. And therefore, rightfully so, Krishna tells, I will tell you now how to become that topmost yogi. That becomes the topic of the 7th chapter, which we're going to do today. We're going to attempt shlokas about 1 to 10. Okay? So we're going to attempt shlokas 1 to 10 today in analysis. And I wish and hope that you have read the 1 to 10 shlokas at least. Hope springs eternal in the human breast, is Shakespeare's words. I'm hoping that you have read this because it's so wonderful and Prabhupada's purport is so deep. Prabhupada has brilliantly handled some of these shlokas and given deep analysis. And with the type of understanding that you have, you should delve into it. If you remember the 6th chapter end, the topmost yogi, Krishna explains, you will see that Arjuna rejects the Ashtanga Yoga, and then finally Krishna proclaims the topmost yogi. You know that Krishna also described an indirect path to you, and Krishna is also speaking about a direct path of Bhakti Yoga. You don't have to go through the yoga ladder of karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, then arrive at bhakti yoga. From anywhere you are, from the vikarma stage when you're totally uncivilized and sinful, or from the dutifully rendering karmas for the sake of material enjoyment, or trying to do partially yoga, devotional service and karma, or doing intelligent jnana yoga. In any of these things you can surpass by directly doing bhakti yoga. This is what we learned till now. So 6 chapters spoke a lot about karma, a lot about action, renunciation, detachment, and Ashtanga yoga, and all these things, the art of doing work and becoming attached to the Supreme Lord by offering the work to you. And that was all Karma Yoga chapters 1 to 6. Now you're going to get the real masala of it. We are settling into the 7th chapter, which is Bhakti Yoga. And after the 12th chapter, you'll again go into Jnana Yoga and a summarization of Bhagavad Gita. So now you're going to go into the real stuff inside. That is between the two sandwich loaves. You get the real stuff inside. Bhakti Yoga from chapter 7 to 12. So we are descending into 7th chapter, first shloka, and it's a wonderful, amazing point. Because you remember how the 6th chapter ended with Krishna saying, "My devotee is the topmost yogi." And then Krishna opens chapter 7 by saying, "Maya saktamanaha partha yogam yunjan madashrayah asamshayam samagram mam yatagnasyasi tachshinu." Remember, what's the title of this chapter? What's the title of this chapter? What's the chapter's name?
Knowledge of
the
absolute.
Knowledge of the absolute. Remember this. Krishna is now not just directly explaining God alone. He's explaining absolute and relative. Very scientific explanation. So he's telling Arjuna, now here, O son of Pritha. Okay, read, Dheeraj. Can you read this translation
Yes,
on the
Maharaj.
screen?
Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt.
Thank you. So the previous chapter ended with the person who is a devotee and who is the best yogi, completely absorbed in Krishna. Now Krishna is saying, how by this complete yoga process of devotion to me, with your mind attached to me, the result is what? You can know me in full, free from doubt. And he says, Tachshunu. Now here, I'll tell you something very important. He's building the tempo up. 6th chapter, he gave this. Okay, now here, I'll tell you this. How you can get to know me in full without any doubt. Asamshayam, samagram mam. Samshaya means doubt. Asamshaya means without any doubt. Samagram means complete. Samagram, complete. Mam, you will know me. Look at the reference. Me, you'll get to know by this particular process which I'm going to talk to you about. Right? So it's interesting to know Krishna is speaking about the absolute and the relative. You will hear more about this in the 11th chapter. Already in the 7th chapter, Krishna is opening to Arjuna that actually this is a relative world. You know what's the meaning of relative? That everything here is dependent on something else. Nothing is independent. Okay? Nothing is independent. In the 11th chapter, you'll hear Urdhva Madashakam. It's an inverted banyan tree reflection. This material world is a illusory reflection of what is real. So in terminologies, that is the absolute, the real world, the spiritual world. And this material world is relative. Okay? This is important for us to know. And what does this mean? We are absolute spirit souls because we are true. We are forever. But we are stuck in the relative. We are supposed to be in the spiritual, in the absolute realm. But we are stuck inside the relative realm, inside the illusory realm, inside a flux constantly changing. Nothing is permanent here. This body will die. Your relatives will go. Your relationships will go. All your possessions will go. And this is a flux constantly moving, keeping on changing. But inside is a changeless, constant core. That is you and consciousness, your experience of the temporary and everything. But you'll be completely mired, stuck in this changing world of relativeness. Nothing can be taken seriously here, actually, because they keep changing and they're not true. So understand absolute and relative. In the absolute world, everything is fixed, everything is forever, and nothing needs to change with time. And it is highly pleasurable because everything is constancy, depth, and absoluteness, and is real. Okay, do you understand absolute and relative to some extent now? This is relative world. That's why it's called Maya's world. It's ruled by Maya Shakti. So Krishna is going to reveal to you my relative energies which manage this relative world. I'll give you an explanation about it. And that's what Krishna is saying, and he's comparing it to the absolute. Okay? And Prabhupada gives a very brilliant purport to that. And I am truly sorry if you have not read it. That is exactly something that you should have read. The first shloka's purport is like 2-3 pages. And it's a real shot at the point of absolute and relative. And he takes out all popular philosophies and dissects them together. And he explains and upholds what Krishna is saying. That's on the screen here, you will see. I will ask Shanti to read that. Shanti Vidyasagar, can you read that?
Yes, Maharaj. Bhakti Yoga serves the hard knot.
Severs. Bhakti Yoga, yeah, severs.
Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of ascension, samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead.
Thank you. What is the meaning of samagram means? See, the supreme absolute truth, personality of God. The supreme absolute truth is a person. This is what philosophers find it difficult to understand. How can the reality, the truth, be a person? Why should it not be? Why should it not be? All great Western philosophers and many philosophers from India do propound that the absolute truth cannot be a person because person is suffering so much. Look at me suffering so much. I suffer pain of the mind, I suffer pain of the body. So many other types of difficulties I have, climatic change and heat and so many things. I don't want to be a person again. I'm afraid of being a person because I experience these things. And therefore the philosophy is to rationalize what I want to hear, that I will no longer be a person. And what to speak of the absolute truth, he should never be a person. Because this is my personal experience. But the point is, the personal experience is matter, it's relative, it's temporary. It doesn't mean that because a person experiences a relative, he cannot remain a person and experience the absolute truth. Okay? And by that derivation, the absolute truth is also a supreme person, the reality, from whom everything comes. Keep this in mind, and you're going to see that Krishna explaining this to you. And in the purport to that, Prabhupada goes to very detailed way, analyze about 4 or 5 Bhagavatam shlokas in the second canto of the Bhagavatam. And he says, the process of understanding Krishna as the absolute truth is explained in the Bhagavad. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. You go to the purport, you will see that Shnavatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana. If you hear Shnavatam Swakata Krishna from Krishna directly, Punya Shavana Kirtana, and glorify him. Hridiyantastohi abhadrani. Everything that is dirty in the heart will be cleansed away. Right? Because Prabhupada is put here in a point form. Hear from Krishna directly through the Bhagavad Gita. Number 2, Krishna dwelling in the... I will ask each one of you to read one of these. What's the first thing you are doing? Right now you're doing that. Number 1, what is it? Sunita and Girish. One of you read that. Number 1.
Hear from Krishna directly through the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. You know the Bhagavad Gita is speaking directly. Krishna is speaking directly to you, to all of us. Okay, that's a very important point to know. And number 2, what is Sandhya Natarajan? Number 2, can you read that?
Krishna dwelling in the heart purifies the devotee.
Yes.
Thank you,
Krishna
Maharaj.
is in your heart. Thank you. Krishna is in your heart as Paramatma, as Super Soul. And when you hear from Bhagavad Gita, he also plays a role from inside the heart, right? He purifies you because you're listening to his instruction from outside. Inside, he will purify you with those instructions. And number 3, if you get purified, what happens to you? When you get purified, what happens to you? Priya, what happens to you? And after that, number 3, what happens? Wow.
Knowledge.
Your transmission is pretty poor.
Transcendental knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. Awakens transcendental knowledge, right? Remember, number 1, Krishna, you're hearing directly from. He is in your heart. He purifies you. And when he purifies you, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha mattaha smriti jnanam apohanam cha. I am situated in everybody's heart, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So Krishna will release transcendental knowledge from within the heart, right? And it will inspire you to hear more about this knowledge. You will read literature like the Bhagavatam, where Krishna's transcendental pastimes are mentioned. You become attracted to Krishna, right? You hear from the Bhagavatam. And after that, what happens? Devaki, Sumukhi, number 5.
Fixes in devotional service.
Because you hear that, you become fixed in devotional service. Means what? In Bhakti Yoga. And then what happens to you? After that, what happens to you? iPhone, your name is iPhone. I don't know exactly what's your name shows your iPhone. Mataji, what's your name? Yeah, go ahead and read.
I'm Shanti Shankar, Maharaj.
Shanti, very happy to know you. Can you read point 6?
Yes, Maharaj. Frees from modes of passion and ignorance.
Okay, thank you, Shanti.
Thank you,
To
Maharaj.
get fixed in devotional service, and once you are steady in devotional service, it frees you from material influence of passion and ignorance. Okay, right. Then number 7. Okay, Girish, who read that? Girish or Sunita? Number 7.
So lust and greed are diminished and wiped.
lust and greed. Because of being freed from passion and ignorance, lust and greed gets wiped out from your heart. And number 8, Dheeraj,
Remains in pure goodness.
you will become Site Sattvam Prasiddhati. In Sattva Guna, in pure Sattva Guna, you become fixed. And number 9, you become enlivened by devotional service. Remember earlier you started becoming fixed in devotional service, and now the devotional service will actually excite you, enliven you, make you very happy. Number 10, you understand the science of God then perfectly. So this is the process by which you can actually get to know asamshayam samagram mam yata jnasasi tachnu. Actually, all this is Bhakti Yoga. But the effect of Bhakti Yoga on you inside, how it is purifying you and how it is step by step taking you to a perfect understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth is explained by Prabhupada in the purport, and I'm just putting it here for you. You must read that purport, it's very nice. Then the second shloka, Krishna says, remember first he said, Tatshanu, listen to me, I'm going to give you something important. Then number 2, Jnanam te aham sadigyanam idam vakshayami asheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyo anyaj jñātavyam avasishyate. So Krishna is now telling something very amazing. What I'm going to tell you, Sundar, would you like to read that, Sundar?
Yes, Maharaj. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yajñātvā neha bhūyo anyaj jñātavyam avasishyase. Look at this claim Krishna is making, very important to know. If you get to know this phenomenal and nominal knowledge, there will be nothing more for you to know. You have known everything. Can anyone make a claim like this in this material world? He's saying that there's nothing more for you to know. In the 6th chapter also we heard the yogi by meditation. Yam ladva cha aparam labham manyate nam adhikam tatah. He will find that yam ladva cha aparam labham. Having gained that, he will know there is nothing more to gain. There also Krishna mentioned that. Here again he's saying, if you hear this, which I'm going to tell you now in the 7th chapter, both phenomenal and nominal, that is phenomenal world and the world that is beyond this material world. This world is called the phenomenal world. Prabhupada is using the terminology of Western philosophers also here. If you have read David Hume, if you have read all these great philosophers, Western philosophy, they use this word, the phenomenal world. They are discovering as Gyanis that actually this world is a world of phenomenon. And there's another world which is beyond this. This is a matter and material stuff and phenomenal world. And nominal world means something beyond matter. So here nominous means spiritual. Like I told you, absolute and relative. So this is a different terminology. Prabhupada has used Western philosophers' terminology also. Phenomenal and nominal. This being known, there's nothing more to be known. Because you have no material knowledge plus spiritual knowledge, which will land up in you understanding absolute truth, Krishna. There's nothing more to know. Why? Krishna further tells that to Arjuna that there's no truth above me. So above me, there's nothing more to be known. If you know me, everything is known. He will say this again now. Mattaha parataram na anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is no truth above me. Everything is me. I am the source of everything. So if you know me, you know everything, and there's nothing greater to be known. Simple. So Prabhupada, I've captured these points from the purport for you. So succinctly, you read this here, it is mentioned, complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. Right? Absolute and relative, both you come to know, and you come to know the person who is behind both of these. from whom everything is coming. Right? Then number 2, complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Because Krishna has already done the 6th chapter, my devotee is the greatest yogi. And now he's saying only my devotee will understand me in full. So that means only a bhakti yogi can understand the absolute truth in full. Because absolute truth is a person, it requires a relationship of bhakti to understand him. And if you want to understand the absolute truth, you have to be in love with the absolute truth, who is a person. Only then you can understand him in full. You get it? So only a devotee can understand the reality. Full stop. Jnani, Karmi, Ashtanga Yogi cannot. That's a statement Krishna made at the end of the 6th chapter. He said, "Oh yeah, it's nice that you've rejected Ashtanga Yoga because you're right. Only my devotee can understand me in full." That's a real statement made by Krishna. Okay? So only a devotee can understand the truth, the reality of everything, because he establishes a relationship with the absolute truth, who for him is the absolute personality of Godhead. See the disadvantage you have if you don't understand the absolute truth to be a person. In other words, personalism is so important. In other words, even when we mix with people each other, we should see each other as persons, not as this body alone, not as this mind, not as this intellect. Problems in relationships come when you see somebody else in a different way and there is impersonalism involved in it. I'm saying personalism and impersonalism. The more you involve yourself with matter and material enjoyment, the more you'll become impersonal. That's very important to know. And the more you look at others impersonally, the more problems will rise in your relationships. So how does Bhakti Yoga help you to cultivate good relationships in this world? Because it helps you to see the absolute truth as a person, develop a relationship with him, and therefore you become also a complete person, and you see others as persons. And your relationships become wonderful because Krishna is connecting you as a person with other persons. Although that person may be impersonal with you, you tend to be very personal with him. And he can feel it. I like this person's company because he's very personal. He sees me as a person. He values my personality. Irrespective of my material situation, I'm not looking beautiful. I don't speak well. I'm not talented. But he goes for me. Beyond all these things, he goes for me directly as a person. It's a great asset to be a personalist. And you'll become one if you read the Bhagavad Gita correctly and understand Krishna is making you a personalist. The more you indulge materially, you become an impersonalist. I'll explain this in great detail to you. In the 12th chapter, Arjuna will ask this question again. Personal or impersonal is better? And Krishna will immediately wrap him down by saying, obviously personal is best. Because you can understand me in full. You can understand the truth in full. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is an important philosophical point from the Bhagavad Gita, I'm telling you. Application in the world in terms of relationships. If you don't see God as a person, you cannot have a relationship with him. If you don't have a relationship with him, you will not know him in full. You know, even in the material world, they will say for business, you cultivate a relationship with him. You can do good business. Influence in the material world, they'll say cultivate the other person in a relationship with him, then he will start doing anything for you. You know that? Why? They have all understood that to influence a person, you have to have a person to person. And you can't fake it. If you fake it, it's very fast understood by the other person. Persons are very conscious, thriving, throbbing people. You can't fool them at all. You have to be a pure person to person relationship. And they'll appreciate it. They can feel the pulse. Sometimes when you put up an act, oh, I like you so much. Actually, you like that. And they make out, I know this fellow is up to something. He's trying hard, but he doesn't have it in him. He won't get it from me. You can make it because people are very shrewd when it comes to personality, person-to-person relationships. I think you all know what I mean. A mother and a child has got a subtle, tacit, unexpressed understanding of each other's personality. Am I right? If the child simply cries, the mother knows what the child wants. I think he needs to sleep. I think he needs to have water. She just feels it and she goes and brings the water and gives it. Otherwise the child will not survive. This is person to person understanding. But as they grow older, they become more and more impersonal and then they will fight together. The child and the parent. They become more impersonal. But when when the mother is, just having the child in the hand and is few months old, it's all by crying and by expression that the child is picked up. What he wants is picked up by the mother. Very deep person-to-person relationship. Okay, I'm giving you a crude example. Number 3, when the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known and nothing remains unknown. It's an amazing statement. It's a sutra. Prabhupada is saying, when the cause of all causes, I'll explain what this to means. Sarva karana karanam is a statement Prabhupada is explaining. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. This is a definition of God, Bhagavan, ultimate absolute truth. I'll explain what that means briefly to you. You see, have you seen a cause and effect principle in this world in everything that happens? Everything has got a cause, and the cause may be an effect of another thing. For instance, I give you a simple thing. The fan is turning here, the light is burning here. What is the cause of this light? If I ask you, what will you say? What is the cause of this light?
Electricity.
Maharaj.
Okay, electricity is a cause. And what is the cause of electricity? Where is it coming from?
Maybe burning coal or
Exactly. It's from the powerhouse is generated. Maybe in hydroelectric power, it may be in nuclear power or whatever. Okay, it's generated there. And what's the cause of that? You'll find that few scientists got together and did this nuclear reactor to generate power. And where did he get the idea of this from? He got it from other scientists and the research done in so-and-so university. Where did they get it from? They got it from this. Like that, it goes on and on and on. But all these causes, if you trace them, they will land up in the absolute truth. And beyond that, there is no other cause. In other words, all causes will end in the supreme cause, and beyond that, there is no other causes. So, when the cause of all causes, that person becomes known, who's Krishna, then everything knowable becomes known. And nothing remains unknown. Can you understand? This is the meaning of Vedic knowledge. That's why we try to understand the absolute truth. It's not, God is only a function of the absolute truth. Now do you understand? Krishna means the absolute truth. One of his functions is to be God for people in this material world. But 3/4 of the creation is spiritual. He is functioning as just like Girish and Sunita in their household, they have kids, let's say. Girish is a big CEO of a company, let's say. He's a big CEO of a company. And in the home, he comes back and he lives at home with his wife and his kids and his parents. And there's a completely different atmosphere. They're very intimate. But when he steps outside with coat, suit, boot, and his briefcase and gets into his chauffeur-driven car and lands in his office, he's a CEO. And he's a big man there. He earns lots of money and he's got power, authority in the company. And he comes back after making $1 million decisions every day. And he comes back in the evening, and at home he's a different person. Sometimes he goes to socialize. He goes for parties, he goes for marriages, he goes for some other gatherings and everything. Now, which of these roles of him at home with his wife and kids and parents and relatives, everything, and his social appearances and his office as CEO, which of them is a complete person? Which of them is a complete person in depth fully? This is a question, by the way. I'm waiting for an answer.
At home.
It's a crude thing.
At home, Maharaj.
At home.
Why do you say that?
It is personal, actually. Personal to person.
Exactly. It's more personal, right? And what happens in the social situation? It will be outwardly personal. Hi, how are you? Wonderful to see you. Da, 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 da. And in the office, it'll be full of politics and deadly stuff happening. And he's a different person there. When he comes home, he really relaxes. He puts down all his guard, and his wife knows him very well because she knows what's happening as a CEO at home and in the office and in the society, and she knows all his roles together. Am I right? Okay? She knows all his roles together. So that I'm giving you a very crude example. Why? Here you're stretching on the personality of this person called Girish. Fully, Samagram Mam. He's a full person, and that is known fully by his wife. So now look into what Krishna is saying. Only my devotee knows me. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Only my devotee knows me in full. And now what's mentioning here? You'll get to know the absolute truth, who functions as God, as CEO when he comes to this world. But he's more than God. When he gets back home with his Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, Gopas, Gopis, they know him very intimately. And they are all in love with him in Bhakti. And he enjoys there very much. He feels completely at home. That's why it's called home. Because you can completely settle down and say, these are my people. And their love for me is very important. And even if they slap me on my face with love, I'll take it wonderfully. You understand? So God is also a person like you. And the same thing scales up to him. If you want to understand the absolute truth, understand him as a person, person to person. That is called Bhakti. That's called Bhakti Yoga. Krishna is coming to explain that in this chapter. That's why it's very wonderful. And he's going ahead and saying the third shloka, Manushyanam Sagastreshu Kaschit Yattati Siddhaye Yatatam Api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tatpatah. Very beautiful explanations these are. These are high class talks, conversations of the Supreme Lord himself speaking to his dear devotee Arjuna. Krishna Priya, will you like to read this translation on the screen, Krishna Priya?
Yes, Maharaj. Okay. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Thank you, Krishna Priya. Now look at this statement. Very important to know. Look at very interesting statement. You may be perfect. You may get to know everything in this material world and know also spiritual knowledge. He's saying normally people don't even want perfection in understanding spiritual knowledge, that matter and spirit, and then I get released from matter and understand that spirit is everything. That is called perfection in knowledge. And that is called achieving perfection. Krishna is saying there are many like that, but even among those who have knowledge and they're perfect, hardly one knows me in truth. Okay? Out of many people, the CEO has as team members who work with him and know what the CEO is going through in managing the company and assist him. There are many in the office and some are very close, but none of them know him as good as his wife. That's what he's saying. Hardly one knows me in truth. Right? Now you can understand why sometimes some CEO gets married to somebody who's working very closely to him because she knows him in truth. Becomes a wife. And I need your support. I marry you because you know me very well. You understand? Are you understanding what I'm getting at? Now, don't tell me later they divorced Maharaj. That's a different thing. But I'm telling you that because you are my devotee, I'm speaking this to you. Out of all these people in the battlefield, why is Krishna choosing Arjuna to speak and saying, Asamshayam samagrammam yatagnyasasi tashvani? I'm giving you the topmost information because you're my devotee. Okay, I'm just having a crude example. So here it's mentioned, thousands and thousands of people try for spiritual life and they get it. They become spiritually oriented. But that's not everything. You will not understand me unless you become a devotee, fall in love with me as a person. Okay? Hardly one knows me in truth. Look at the statement. Sahasreshu means thousands of people. But of thousands and thousands who become perfect in spiritual life, not even one knows me properly. Okay? Right. Now, that's why in this beautiful chapter in the Prabhupada will say, people criticize Bhakti Yoga. Oh, it's very easy. It's not like, it's not an easy thing to understand. So Prabhupada will say, here, I want to, if you've got the book in front of you, you will see in the second paragraph for text 3. Can I ask somebody to read that? Sunita, will you read that? In the second paragraph for text 3. Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Yeah.
Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda. Ishvara
Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana.
It is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually, according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path.
Okay.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's it. So sometimes people say it's very easy, it's not so very important to look at. So Prabhupada is arguing, if it is easy, why don't you guys do it? Why are you not doing it? So it's not really very easy. Don't just throw it out as it's very easy to do or something. Try it and see whether it's really easy. Right? So, but you will also see the statement that it is actually easy. Easier than jnana, easier than karma. Why? Because of that person-to-person thing has to click. As soon as that clicks, it becomes very easy. But if you remain impersonal, it will never click. It will never click and it will remain always difficult. Right? With Krishna's blessings only, it becomes easy. And if you stubbornly hold on to jnana, karma, and yoga as the path, you don't get the mercy. It's only when you surrender to Krishna, right, you get the mercy. And you helplessly surrender to Krishna and say, I'm here. I know nobody else but you. Right? I hear your pastimes and in love with you. You're my hero. I surrendered. I know nobody else but you. And from then onwards, you establish a personal relationship with the absolute truth. And you're going to start getting to understand. Why? Because Krishna's mercy is on you. Here is another statement from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a very fantastic literature called Nectar of Devotion, written by Rupa Goswami. It's one of the most prized treasures of Bhakti and how to practice it and the science of Bhakti. Okay, I will ask Kayal Viri to read it. Kayal Viri, would you like to read this on the screen?
Yeah, sure, Maharaj. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him.
Thank you. So you see here, it's very easy for devotees because they don't have any problem with putting faith in Krishna and lovingly serving him. Immediately Krishna will reveal himself. But normally it's very difficult to get to know the absolute truth. You will get to know the absolute truth only by loving, sincere devotional service. That is how it is easy. Okay? Now Krishna goes in the 4th shloka onwards, he starts explaining his material energies. After saying his introductory 3 shlokas, very difficult to know me, not at all easy to know me, but my devotee can know me. And he explains that I am the absolute truth. And now he explains his material energy. Broadly classified are 2 energies. External energy, which is material of the Lord, and the internal energy, which is completely spiritual. The spiritual energy are the living entities, Atma, the spirit souls. And the external energy, you have the material body and this whole material world made out of it. And what exactly is it made out of? Bhumi rapo analo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankaram iti yamme binna prakriti ashtada. So please read that. Krishna Kumarji, would you like to read the translation?
Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego together comprise my separated material energy.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna Kumar. So quickly to understand this, Krishna is describing matter. What comprises everything that you see around him, around you? Your body, the world, the camera here, the light here, the fan here, the room here, the building, the mortar, the cement, the plants, the valley, the sun, the moon, everything around you. What is it made of? Krishna is saying, earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now, you may immediately think, earth, you mean this earth which I see here? Yes. You mean the water that I see? Yes. But you mean I mix all these things together and that's what is a blob of this material world? No. I want to put inside you, don't think this is the ordinary earth. You see the earth, but that is a mixture of all these things, but predominantly the earth element. When you see water, it's a mixture of all these 8 things, but predominantly the water element. So what's being spoken about here is elemental earth, elemental water, elemental fire, elemental air, sky, mind, intelligence, which is more fundamental than the atom. In matter, in science, they will teach you that the fundamental particle of matter is atom, isn't it? You must have all learned that. But this is more fundamental than the atom. Earth, water, fire, air, sky. And combinations of this what make up the Bhumi, the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything. If you say Surya, sun planet, it's predominantly fire element. But there is small proportions of earth, water, air, sky, mind, everything to it. Now, this is a difficult science subject matter to understand. So I just wanted to help you not to confuse it with other things. Let's keep it aside in your mind. When we come to 13th chapter, we'll examine this a little more. But right now, I just want to tell you, don't get confused. This is elemental earth, water, fire, and it may be more fundamental than the atom. Today in atom, they will tell you atom is completely free space. The electron and the nucleus and all that, practically no mass. It's a huge proportion of, 1 is to some, billion or something, the amount of space inside. And they're saying it's practically nothing in it. So now they're slowly understanding that this could very well be true, what Krishna is saying. That which you saw, Bhumira Ponalavai, is what is matter. You remember Krishna told you, I'll explain the phenomenal world and the nominal world. So he's now started explaining the phenomenal world. And it consists of this earth, water, fire, air, sky. You must understand this is a different science. It's not the same science that you study in your school and this thing. But it is very much related. It's more foundational than what you study. I want you to carefully watch how Krishna is describing a different science because he's the creator. And that is the real science. He's going and telling that is Prakriti, Bhinna Prakriti Rashtada. He said, my separated material energy. Use these words, Bhinna Prakriti, means separated from me, and it operates separately in the material world. As energy, it is separate. It's Bhinna Prakriti. And so Krishna goes further to say in the 5th shloka, Apare yamitastu anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yeye dhandharayate jagat. Now, another concept is introducing and explaining to you, important for you to catch it. Charumati Gopi. Would you like to read that, Charumati Gopi?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oops. One second. Something happened. 1 minute. Yeah.
Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is no superior energy of
There
mind.
is a superior energy.
There is a superior energy of mind, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Charumati. Just see now, he's saying, actually, Prakriti, there are 2 types. Bhumirapo anano vayu kam mano, earth, water, fire, air, sky is one type of Prakriti. It is inferior Prakriti. There is another Prakriti, which is superior Prakriti. Para and Apara Prakriti. Para means superior, Apara means inferior. There are 2 types of Prakriti in this world. One is this matter and dull stuff that I'm describing to you, Bhumira, Paunalo, Vayu, Kam, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha. And the other one is this spirit souls who are inside this Prakriti of matter and trying to enjoy it and suffering and struggling. That is another type of Prakriti. Now you'll wonder, what? How do I understand that now? That's why I'm putting this up to you. You already studied this. 2 types of energies. So we're examining Krishna's external energy, internal, external. The external energy consists of Prakriti, matter, earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and ego. You have a subtle body that's made out of mind, intelligence, and ego. You have a gross body that's made out of earth, water, fire, air, sky. It may be called pancreas and intestines and liver and heart and lungs and marrow and bone and everything, but it's all made out of this. Anybody who is an Ayurvedic physician will understand what I'm saying. They treat the body like that. They'll treat you according to Vata, Pitta, Kapam and all that. It's all generated out of earth, water, fire and sky. They'll talk about balance. It very closely relates to what Krishna is saying here. Okay? Now, inside this situation is the soul. Soul, you are trying to enjoy this matter through this body, subtle and gross body, right? You, spirit soul, inside this body, trying to enjoy matter with the body. So 2 types of Prakriti. One is the superior Prakriti, spirit soul, and the inferior Prakriti, matter. It may be a little confusing, but keep this in mind that is Krishna's classification, that although both are lumped into the material world, one is superior to the other because one is spirit, the other is plain matter. Okay? Just keep this in mind. Then Krishna goes further and qualifies with the saying, Ye tat yonini bhutani sarvani ti upadharaya aham kritsnasya jagatah prabhava pralayas tatha. Further, Vinaya Ganesh Babu. Would you like to read this translation, Vinaya Ganesh Babu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution.
Thank you. Making quickly a point, Krishna is saying apara and para, everything, all, but you must understand that I am the origin of everything, material and spiritual. Whatever you see, I am both this origin and dissolution, means I destroy everything if I want. In the end, only I will remain. That's the meaning of it. In fact, reality means only Krishna. From Krishna come all of us, right? And we are spirit souls. And we can go back into Krishna and remain there. And this whole material manifestation can completely be destroyed. It's very easy for Krishna to do that. Press one button, boom, whole material creation can be gone. He's very powerful. Dissolution also I can do. And then he explains, now I'll tell you about me. Now he's talking about absolute. He spoke about relative till now. Then he's told both material and spiritual, I am the boss, coming from me. And above me, there is nothing. Mattaha paradaram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Shreya Sajan. Would you like to read that, Shreya Sajan?
Yes. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as pearls are strung on a thread. Thank you.
Shreya. Thank you, Shreya. See, we are developing. This is not about religion, really speaking. Don't take it out of your head that we are speaking Hinduism. We are speaking about reality. We are speaking about absolute truth, explained by the Supreme Person, who is the absolute truth. He's saying, I am the source of everything. I am a person, and I am the source of everything. You see how important personalism is in understanding God and understanding the absolute truth. People make a very big mistake when they think God is simply light, energy, Brahman, etc., etc. Those are secondary features of God. Originally, incomplete, Krishna is a person. If you don't want to call absolute truth Krishna, that's up to you. You can call him Yahweh, you can call him Allah, anything. But the fact is, we must understand there is one Bhagavan, one absolute truth. And that's what the Christians are getting at, this is what the Muslims are getting at, this is what the Hindus are trying to get at. And have screwed themselves up by having too much of philosophical shots at them and dumbing down them with Mughal rule and British rule and everything. They've got a real skewed up idea now. Hinduism now is a mix of lots of things. Compromised understanding of this, that, everything. Christians accuse them of being idolaters, and Muslims tell them that you're idolaters and you're polytheistic. There is only one God. Actually, they are correct. Actually, they want it. And Hindus will respond by saying, Hinduism is a way of life. You can worship whomever you want. It does not matter. No, it does matter. It's not a way of life. Even a dog has got a way of life. What do you mean way of life? Hinduism, coming from the Vedas, coming from Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all the Vedas, is telling you, we worship the absolute truth, not just God. Because if you say God, there are so many demigods, 33 crores of demigods inside each universe. And there are billions of universes. But for all these billions of universes and billions of demigods, there is only one supreme absolute truth, Bhagavan, Krishna. He is the one who is speaking the Bhagavad Gita to you. So we worship the absolute source, the truth, the foundation of everything. And he can't be said, oh, you are worshipping one God. Huh? Very good. No, he's not only one God. He's the source, absolute truth. Please get this very clear. When he becomes God and performs in the material world as Vishnu and Narayana in the spiritual world, he's doing his God action and role. But he is the foundation of everything. So we worship one God, you can say in common parlance, but it's not just one of the many gods. So they claim to be, Christians claim to be a monotheistic religion. And Muslims also say we are monotheistic. But you guys are polytheistic. I don't know who is your God. You worship so many things here. You worship the sun, moon, you worship that, this, ground, bhumi. It's completely confusing to me. It's because really speaking, Hindus are confused. They don't know what's happening. They don't read the Bhagavad Gita properly. Here is Krishna telling you, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu. They were all my separated material energy. And it's all coming from me, material and spiritual. And there's nothing above me. The definition of God is that Mattah Parataram Anyat. This is the definition of absolute truth. Okay. So everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. I hope you're following what I'm trying to say. This chapter is called Absolute Truth. Okay? If you go further after that, after speaking the absolute truth, in the 7th, Krishna goes ahead and then climbs down and said, you know, although I'm absolute truth, I'm present everywhere in matter. You can't miss me out anywhere. And he says, Raso hamatsu kaunteya prabhasmi sashishu yayaho pranavahas sarva vedeshu shabdhakke paurisham rishu. Look at this. Very amazing. If you want to talk about philosophy, you can't beat the Bhagavad Gita. Nobody can explain philosophy of life and the truth and about you and the world so amazingly. It is just that people don't explain it properly to others. And they go around saying polytheism, atheism, monotheism, agnosticism, everything. Everything is explained by Krishna in each of these chapters. Look at this. I am the taste in the water. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. Now Krishna is saying, although I explained to you phenomena nominal, coming back to you, I am present in the phenomenon. In everything good you know, I am present. But in science, what they will teach you in school, water is odorless, tasteless, da-da-da-da. Properties of water they teach you, no? It's actually completely wrong. Can you understand how far away your material science is from what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita? He's saying everything that comes from Krishna, Krishna is present in it. Because it's my energy. And if you really study my energy, you'll see me in it. Because it's coming from me. Right? He said that earlier. It's coming from me, therefore you'll see me in it. If you're my devotee, you'll see the taste in water is Krishna. You'll see the light coming from the sun is Krishna. Because it's all Krishna's energy. When I'm a small girl and I want a mama, where I look at mama's chapel, immediately, mama is here. Am I not feeling when I see my mama's chapels here? She's here. I immediately become counsel, I become peaceful. Why? She's inside this house. Because it's my mama's chapel. But she's not yet seen mama. She's only seen mama's chapel. But she's recognized mama's chapel, this is mama. And she feels happy. Same way a devotee will see Krishna's energy and say, Krishna is there. Is there. Why? Because of this love invested in Krishna. He can see in energy, you can see Krishna. Right? You get the point? Very important. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. And then Krishna goes to say further, Punyogandha prithviyam cha tejas chashmi vibhavaso. Jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapas chashmi tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. And I am the penances of all ascetics. You can understand absolute truth describing himself inside matter, inside the material world. Go further. Bijamam sarva bhutana vidhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejasvinam aham. O son of Buddha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Understand, absolute truth is speaking. Absolute truth is a person. From him comes the material manifestation. And he's explaining, I am present in my energy. You can see me in my energy. It's just that you're so Krishna unconscious, you can't see. You can't even consciously perceive. Why? Because of Krishna unconsciousness. Because of no bhakti. no personal relationship with God. And Krishna is inviting you throughout Bhagavad Gita in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th chapter, 12th chapter, will come out and tell you, that's what I'm telling you, become my devotee. Can't you hear it? He'll say it again and again. In the 7th, 8th, he'll say it openly. Just be my devotee, everything is all. I'm giving you a shortcut. Don't go that difficult rabbit hole of, that jnana, karma. No. Don't go through that. You'll suffer a lot. It's very difficult to get to me through that path. With bhakti, you get me. Because I am everywhere. It's easy to catch me in this world. Fall in love with me. I am the greatest. I am the source. I am a person. I love you. Can't you just show your love back to me? That's all he's asking. It's very simple. The absolute truth is big. It's so exciting, Bhagavad Gita. If you slowly understand what is this person talking to you, Krishna, what is he trying to say? People don't understand because they don't have personalism in the understanding. Only a pure devotee of the Lord can explain it personally. And that's the greatness of Prabhupada's explanations. He is a lover of God. He's a lover of Krishna. So when he explains with emotion. He knows exactly what Krishna is trying to say. I know what my father Krishna is trying to say here. He's trying to appeal to you, and he'll explain it in that way. And the real understanding comes out. So please read these purports. They are very, very deep and very clear and easy to understand. Okay? I'll stop here. We had enough for today. And if there's anything that you want to clarify, you can ask a few questions if you want to.